Hey, what's going on, guys? Be here with UntitledGameShow.com with.
Jack?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is another Let's Talk, and I'm here talking to Jack about what Capcom put out today. Capcom explains the appeal and the future of Resident Evil. This was an article on GameSpot.com, and we want to give our take on why do we keep playing Resident Evil after, 1996 the game been out, man? It's a long
Yeah,
time, right?
1996. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so the game's been out a pretty long time now, and Capcom went into detail on why they think people keep playing the game. But I wanted to find out from Jack why he plays the game, and I want to share my opinion why I play the game, even with some of the screw ups over the last few years. So I'll ask you first, Jack. Why do you keep playing Resident Evil since we started playing in 1996?
I don't know. I play it for the story, and I kind of want to see how it will all finally conclude with meeting all these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find the story being, yeah, it's pretty out there, pretty chaotic and everything, but it shows like how each of the characters evolve and how they adapt to the new situations that happen. And that's why I play it. Like, my main character that I like is Leon, and basically from Resident Evil 2, how he was a police officer and then now went to the government, and then in
Yeah,
Resident Evil 6, that how, he was trying to avenge the president's death and, like, take
he's
down
a
this
character
whole...
that actually grows.
Yeah.
Just to cut into you, that's Leon's my favorite character too, and you don't see it very much in video games. Think about this: the same time Resident Evil started back in the '90s, that's where Lara Croft started, right?
Hmm.
If you think about Lara Croft, where she started back then, they have brought her all this way, and she has not developed into a different character. They've had to reboot her many times. But
Hmm.
you can say Leon S. Kennedy started out police officer, went into the government agency, protect the daughter, went all the way up to working with the president. That's like he has actually has an arc, and I think your point is very much right. Same thing for me, kind of. Why I play Resident Evil is the story. It's really weird to say that when we both just agreed that the story's kind of all over the place. But you've been with these characters for so many years, you might want to see where they eventually go, right?
Yeah, and it's pretty weird also because, some characters like Leon and Chris, you see them progress through the story. Like, I feel like in the Resident Evil franchise, the main focus is on Chris and it's on Leon. It's basically
Yeah.
their story because you talk about like Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 3, it had
Hmm.
Jill in it. And then after that, she makes like a quick cameo appearance in Resident Evil 5, and then after that, you hear nothing. The person that you don't even hear from is Chris's sister, Claire, and she was only in Resident Evil 2,
Hmm.
and she was in Code Veronica, and that was it. And you don't even know what happened to her completely.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. Claire comes back in this game, number six, right? And
She doesn't come back in 6, though, but
I
she
mean, that's
makes...
six. That's six. But I'm saying, not sorry, not clear. But I'm saying there's a lot of new. The characters come back in six. That's why I meant to say it the wrong
Yeah, like
way.
Sherry from Resident
Yeah,
Evil 2,
Sherry, her. Yeah. So,
and then you got Jake, who is Albert Wesker's son.
what's his son? And the whole Albert Wesker thing is one of the main reasons I play Resident Evil. Wesker is an awesome villain, guys. I'm not sure what everybody else's opinion in the whole Resident Evil universe is, but if I was thinking of a single villain in Resident Evil, it's Albert Wesker. Because his thing was going for the perfection. He wanted to make the perfect virus, basically. That's what he was going for.
Hmm.
He wanted all the benefits of the virus with none of the going nuts and not being able to control himself downside.
Yeah, that's
And he
just...
kind of accomplished that at the end of Resident Evil 5. Spoilers. But he took a little too many shots.
Yeah, he kind of went crazy.
And he's in the bottom of a volcano right now too.
Somehow people saying he's still alive, but
But he is still alive. I say a lot. But back to my point. Albert Wesker is the perfect villain for Resident Evil series. Like his arc from back in the old games to new games, He didn't start out a bad guy as we know, guys. He started out one of the good guys, right? A cop.
hmm he was a good guy for a little bit, and then when you see his like true ambitions in Resident Evil 1, then
Yeah,
you're like, ah, he's a dick in this game. Okay.
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Capcom may not do the best job of explaining each character's motivations in each individual game, but seeing as I've been playing it from the very beginning, seeing how these characters change over the whole entire generation of games really helps enhance the story. And even little things where they have like the Operation Raccoon City, then you can pick up the data files and read the data files on the background of Umbrella. For us deep fans who really like the lore of the whole Umbrella, the corporation, all that little stuff is kind of important to us.
Hmm.
And that's what makes us play Resident Evil. It is the story. Capcom doesn't always do the best job of the story in each individual game, but in the overall franchise whole, there are more good Resident Evil games than there are more bad Resident Evil games. Would you agree with me with
Yeah.
that?
I agree with you on that. Like some good Resident Evil games, I'm gonna put out there. Like my top favorite Resident Evil games was definitely Resident Evil 2,
Hmm.
Resident Evil 3, 4, 5, and you could criticize me for this. I do like Resident Evil 6 though. The only
Oh,
reason why I do like Resident Evil 6 is because I like Leon and Ada's story because it was more focused on like the virus, more focused on like the zombies and everything. Chris is just it was just played out, and then Jake was like a little bit of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, a little bit of it, but it had like too much. I think it had too much, a little bit more action packed than what I was really hoping for.
yeah. Because right now we're very much talking about the story, but I think we should probably get to the point of the gameplay. I think that's the biggest problem that people have been having with the Resident Evil franchise over the last few years. It's not that the characters are stupid or the story is stupid. They probably more or less think like, wait, wasn't this supposed to be a survival horror game? And I want to
Mm.
hear what you think that happened to the Resident Evil games that made Capcom go with the more action theme to the game. And do you think that's a good move for the future, or should they step away from that?
Well, I really think the whole entire move was that when Resident Evil 4 came out, they wanted to do this whole entire experiment on, defining survival horror, and it worked.
Hmm.
And then they just took it and just made it into like Resident Evil 5, where it's just be like, okay, let's just adapt to that even more. And then it kind of just lost its identity. It's not supposed to be like an action-packed game. It's supposed to be like, okay, I have a limited amount of resources, I have a limited amount of ammo, I'm put in a tight situation, what do I have to do? And that's what made Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 such great games. And then when you're playing about Resident Evil 4, it had a mixture of everything in it, but it was supposed to be only like one type of thing. It was supposed to be like survival horror, like what they did with Leon, how you had certain amount of ammo for each type of situation that you encounter with all these different enemies and everything, and it was fine. And then when you got to the other stories, it's just basically I'm playing Resident Evil 5 all over again.
Yeah.
And me personally, I did not really like Resident Evil 5 that much. Even though the story was good and everything, it just felt too action packed for me, and it did not like fuse with me to love it. And I was just like, it's okay.
Okay. I'll rebuttal you then on that because I say I personally love Resident Evil 5. I think Resident Evil 5. If I was gonna give my top Resident Evil games, I would have to go Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 2, and I would probably have to go Resident Evil 5 and then Resident Evil 0. Remember that game? GameCube?
Oh yes.
I really like 0. I don't know why, but I just like 0 personally. But the reason I like 5, it was the first introduction of co-op, and I'm a big fan of co-op games, and I think that really resonated with me when me and you played. It still had its scary moments, and the co-op worked.
Mm-hmm.
For the story in 5, Chris is a more believable Chris. I like Chris and Leon as very two similar characters. I like them a lot. I like Leon just a little bit more than Chris, but I like them both. The problem with Resident Evil 6, why I don't like Resident Evil 6 as much as Resident Evil 5 or any of those ones, is that they did such a bad job with Chris. Chris is just not a good character in Resident Evil 5, and the whole, fighting the bioweapons and everything like that, it just didn't really work out for me. But when you say that you like Resident Evil 6, I can understand it. If you just play the Leon story and you play Ada's story, those are two well executed stories. It's like Capcom had their A team do Leon and Ada's story, and then the B team did Jake's and Chris's story. You agree with me on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So it's like maybe they had too many people working on Resident Evil 6. They didn't give it one giant focus. Compared to when Resident Evil 4, it felt like every single person working on Resident Evil 4 knew what they wanted, and it made a really good game, and it was concise. Came out great. Resident Evil 6, They had so many different story elements, and they weren't able to pull it together. Unlike a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Right now, that game has 3 main characters, but they were able to pull them all together and make them work. For 6, it's like, yes, Ada's in this story, but it's like everybody's all in China, and it's all happening at once, but the reason why they meet together doesn't really work. And back to the gameplay part of Resident Evil 6, why I think it really didn't work, is stuff like the snow level with Chris. You know my frustration with that snow level.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were trying to go for the scariness of Dead Space, like, stuff like that, trapped in the snow, you can't see stuff. Dead Space came out.
Kind of stuff like that. I agree, yeah.
Yeah, Dead Space 3 came out after Resident Evil 6, but still, my point is valid. It didn't really work, because, yes, you're walking around in the snow and there's zombies, but it's just, it's hard to find where you need to go. You're still just going to run and shoot. if you get attacked by a bunch of zombies, unless we're playing on the harder difficulties, which we do play on, it's not a hard game.
Yeah.
Remember playing like the old school Resident Evil 4? Just on normal mode is a pretty difficult game.
Yeah, I remember when I first got Resident Evil 4, I died within like the first 10 minutes of that chainsaw guy because I didn't know what the hell was going on. So,
And I'm gonna leave it off with this for you, man. I think the biggest problem Resident Evil 4, I mean Resident Evil 6, going forward, they need to take it out is the quick time events. They didn't work for me.
yeah. I would say if they're going to do anything right and redo Resident Evil, I really think is like one, take out the quick time events. Two, I think you should focus on just one person's story
Mm-hmm.
and just be like, focus on that. Then probably if you want to do like downloadable stories, like episode 1 so and so or episode 2, then you could put that. But I think you really should focus on like just one person in general. I don't think like working on three or four different characters and putting into one game. It's like it's a good idea, but it's like really confusing, and it's just basically saying, okay, you're ending up in China. Why they all end up in China? He's supposed to stop the national security advisor. He's supposed to stop her, but she's actually a clone of her, and they are supposed to running away from this motherfucker who's a big ass motherfucker who wants to kill them. And it's just basically, all right, let's just leave it alone.
You know, one of the biggest things they removed from Resident Evil 6 that was in some of the old games, exploration. There was no reason to look. Yeah, Resident Evil 6. I mean Resident Evil 4. I keep saying 6 first. 6. You got to the village, right? What's the first thing you did after all the zombies were you killed them all? You looked around.
Yeah.
You explored. You stayed in that little. You probably stayed in that little village for probably 30 minutes before you moved on to go underground, right? Resident Evil 6. You start the game. You're in one area to the next area. It's like an Uncharted game, and this is not a bad thing to Uncharted. Uncharted is a quick-moving game, but Naughty Dog knows how to make that exciting. Resident Evil doesn't need to be a game that has you driving down 100 miles an hour. It could take it slow and let you enjoy the game, but it doesn't need to go as slow as back to the, Resident Evil 1 where, slowly walking through doors and things like that. It could keep.
But it'll be. I know where you're coming from. It shouldn't be linear. It should be more exploration. How the old game's supposed to be. Like as soon as you get into like Resident Evil 2, get into the police station. There are plenty of doors you can go into and figure out what you need to do from there. It's like the same thing with all the other games. It's just like they're making it to you got to go to point A to point B to point C to point D. Just do it like the old school way. Just be like, okay, go wherever you want now. Figure out if you need to go through the double-sided doors, or you need to go through that door, or you need to go through that door, and just go from there.
Think about what's his name? Not Claire. The girl's name for Resident Evil 6. What's her name again?
Sherry.
Sherry. Her storyline, right? With Jake. Puzzles. Where were the puzzles? Hardly any puzzles in the Resident Evil game. Isn't that a travesty? What happened to the puzzle element? But what else I'm gonna say, because it's more to Resident Evil than just the story and the gameplay of those single player mode. There's been addition of co-op. There's mercenary mode. There's versus multiplayer mode. What I would like to see next is basically plain and simple. A game, if it has co-op, it's only 2 people. And the reason why I only wanted 2 people, them having so many different characters that you go play as, makes it so that they can't focus on any 1 or 2 characters in depth. And for the multiplayer, they should just be mercenaries and co-op. That's it. Those are the only 2 multiplayer modes we need. We don't need the...
Or instead of making it co-op, just make it 1 player.
Yes, that's perfectly fine too, but I'm just going to say this. If they make it 1 player, it's going to have to be a damn good game. That would really mean they would need to change a lot.
Damn good game. Like, it has to be like something like Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2. Like how it's just only 1 player and how it made like so scary and everything like that. Like, if they could do that for the next Resident Evil game and make it... If they can make the next Resident Evil game with 3 stories, but we're playing as 1 person and they're not integrating into anything.
Okay, you're saying have 3 different characters, like the same way it is right now, but at the end of each campaign, you have 3 different characters.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, you start off with Leon, then the next one you play as Chris, but you only play as that 1 character by themselves.
Only play with that 1 character. They don't meet up or anything. Like, Leon is in... Freaking, let's say, for example,
it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter where they are.
Somewhere in the United States. Somewhere in the United States, a virus happened. Nothing to do where he's meeting up with Chris or anything. Chris is somewhere around the world. Ada's obviously doing something else. Something like that. But you only play with 1 character.
Yeah. And some reason why the overall story all matters because they're probably all fighting Umbrella in their own way in their own part of the world. They're trying to take care of the
Exactly.
crisis wherever they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like your idea too. That and the
How
mercenary
about this,
mode.
Capcom?
Yeah, that in corporate mercenary mode. I know maybe not everybody likes mercenary mode, but we leaderboard status right here, guys. Leaderboard status.
Yeah, we do Mercenaries mode really good, and especially that raid mode that they put in Resident Evil Revelations. That was actually really good, also. That you could probably put in there also.
Yeah, I guess they could put that in the full game, but really, I want them to go back to Resident Evil, take it down a notch. You don't need to be having Gatling guns. You don't need to be having, all the so many BOW weapons, bioweapons. If you have too many of them, the surprise of seeing one bioweapon is lost, and
Yeah.
that's what I'll end it out with. If you just in Resident Evil 4, you fought what, two of those big giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those two big giants scared the shit out of you when you saw them. In Resident Evil,
I shot them with a Magnum.
yeah, in Resident Evil 6, I remember you fight like 7 bioweapons, man, and you don't get scared. You don't have suspense. It's not exciting. And the only thing I'll leave it to you, the craziest part about Resident Evil 6 is a freaking electrical arm. Where did Raiden come from?
Yeah, I know, right?
A little bit of spoilers if you haven't seen the end of 6, but yeah, where the hell did that arm come from?
It's like Kojima had a part in this. Oh,
Yeah,
he breaks our mind.
exactly. Like, wait, did Kojima make this game? All right,
Yeah, I
guys,
know.
I'm done.
Kojima
Jack,
actually worked on Metal Gear. I mean, not on Metal Gear, on Resident Evil.
maybe. All right, that's all
Yeah.
I gotta say for today, man. You have anything to leave everybody with?
No. If Capcom could get their shit right and make Resident Evil better, like how it used to be, then I'll be happy.
All right, guys, we out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace. Hey, what's up, everybody? Be here with the UntitledGameShow.com, here to ask you for your support in a quick ad. Won't take up much of your time. Are you a human being? Do you shop on Amazon? If the answer to these questions are yes, then you could help make the Untitled Game Show grow. Any purchases made through the Amazon link on the UntitledGameShow.com will help us, like this pre-order of the PlayStation 4. You can click the link, it brings you right to the Amazon website, and you check out just like normal. As you see, just come here, you can bookmark the page, click on our link, brings you right to the Amazon website, search for any products you buy, and that's simple as that, guys. Thanks for watching. Be with the UntitledGameShow.com. Hope you guys are willing to support the Untitled Game Show and help us grow. That's all I'm asking from you. Buy things you already were going to buy. Thanks for watching.